wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be.
Hello and welcome listeners to another episode of Tactical Awareness. It's Season 2, Episode 11, Wombo-Combos Part 2. My name's Ashton. Today I'm joined by Owen and Dan for us to dive in and talk about more of our favorite pairings of things in Infinity. Today it's going to be skills as we dive into the things that models in Infinity know that go great together. This is a great guide for beginners as well as more experienced players for checking out some of the subtleties of how the skill sets in Infinity work. So let's catch up with Owen and Dan, see what everybody's doing, and get this going. Here we go. Now we're starting. Now we're cooking with gas and fire. Hey everybody, welcome to the Tactical Awareness. You like fire? Dan, do you have a sealed child criminal record?
Not that you know of.
It's sealed. That's why we don't talk about it on podcasts. We don't talk about that bus full of kids. So
look, I only slightly like mutilating small animals.
That's look, I'll be honest, as a kid that grew up in the 80s, and was in the Boy Scouts, I started more fires than any fucking 8 to 10 year old probably should. Being given matches and pocket knives was a ritual of 80s childhood that is not repeated today. So today is part 2 of our lists of stuff that we like, top 3 lists of stuff that we like on profiles, and today we're doing skills, which I'm kind of excited about. This one, it's funny because we had some debate about this one. Like, Owen immediately got cynical and was like, yeah, infiltration plus camouflage is really good. And I'm like, come on, dig deeper.
Wait, that was on my list. Wait a second.
I have to dig deeper. That's all I need.
I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can do better. You can definitely do better. We're also gonna take some questions from the mailbag and catch up on what everyone's been doing this week. So let's start with that. I went first last time. So Dan, you're going first this time. What did you do this week?
What did I do this week?
Yeah.
I played an Infinity tournament.
I heard. How'd that go? I heard tell. A little bird told me. This is movie magic for we didn't already talk about this in the group chat. That you've broken your streak.
Yeah, I told you.
I know you told me. That was me just being artsy. I'm being artsy for the audience.
That's called fartsy.
Respect
way more fartsy than artsy.
Your audience, Daniel.
Never. This is the only reason we're still going is because of you.
I know, I'm carrying this whole thing on my back.
So it was. I think it was a combination of me being like overly tired and going through like personal stuff in previous instances of me playing in the tournaments where I'm like my head's just not fully in the game, where I just wasn't performing and I wasn't feeling good about it, and I was just like, I don't even like this faction. But then I played basically similar lists to what I brought before, but then I just played them properly, and turns out ISS can be pretty good.
You buckised some folks. I'm looking at you on OTM here. I'm looking at your stats. I'm doing the TSN turning point right now. For how
I was really sad I didn't beat Owen because we faced off on the final table.
I was going to say
because I would have destroyed his rating because my rating is so bad because I was losing all the time.
It's true. To lose to you would have been a nightmare for his elo.
Oh yeah,
for sure. What's his elo? You're like 1121 now. Good for you, man. Your elo's looking good, Owen. But you went. I'm just looking at your record for this one. You went 7-1 in your first game. What did they play?
Me? I thought I went 7-3. Maybe. Oh, I did go 7-1. He played a weird nomad list.
Okay.
He was like, I'm in it for the memes, but then he wasn't familiar with anything, and so it was very frustrating. Because it was just we had 2-hour rounds, and by the time he figured out what he was deploying and took his first turn, it was an hour 15 minutes into the round.
Right. Yeah. So you're running out of time.
And so I was like,
yeah.
But my turn was pretty quick because the Sujan spent 7 orders killing a gator, but he had a gator and a lizard, and then some core. It was a really bad list, and then he couldn't kill my Quaz creature and was just running around trying to pop buttons with a pilot of a tag with the Quaz creature attacking him constantly.
Oh my god! What was the?
And then
you got it. Your tag next to a QAZ creature. That's insane.
Yeah, It was
That's insane.
I mean, it was a lizard, so it was a heavy infantry 2 wound guy. Was still.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyways, it was a debacle. He wasn't familiar with the models he was playing. I was waking up. It was a game. It was
What mission was it?
It was pretty nonsensical. Well,
Blind
I don't know. What? No, wait. What was it? It was you had to control and activate consoles on either side, and then control the middle. In the middle, like the tech coffin in the middle for 3 points.
It's acquisition.
Acquisition. That's the one.
It's acquisition. Then it was frontline. Then it was unmasking. That's a pretty solid basic tournament.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, you can't even get out of that tag.
No, you have to die first.
It has to die. You can't just
It has to take 2 moves.
But,
yeah.
So there was a lot of.
Is it a specialist?
Like how much armor?
I
No,
don't even think. I don't even think it's a special. It's like one of the ones that isn't a special.
Like I said,
so like there was a bunch
bit of a fiasco.
Okay, yeah, it just has a machine gun. I'm pretty sure it can't push buttons because the whole point is that it's still.
I don't know his faction enough. He didn't know his faction, and we just muddled through the game. Luckily,
those was positive.
Yeah, he was like,
yeah.
There was what was happened? There was a moment where it was like, I'm like, wait a minute, why are you rolling 4 dice for oh my gosh, my brain just went dead.
suppression.
Suppressive fire. I'm like, you're rolling 4 dice for suppressive fire.
Was this a lizard or was this a iguana?
It's an iguana.
Okay,
because he's playing Corregidor because he had a link.
Then it's not. Okay, yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I thought it was a lizard, but you can't bring a lizard in Corregidor.
No, but you can't bring an iguana, and he is.
You can't bring an iguana, and that's the same-ish guy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's the machine gun one.
Yeah,
it
was
was
the right model. I remember that.
I feel like I learned nothing about his list because it was. I'm like, he's got 5 armor. Wait,
yeah.
I'm like, he's not. Wait. He has 2 wounds? Wait, what's going on? I don't want... You don't have a courtesy list for me?
All right,
Okay.
moving on. You played frontline against
Anyways.
Tumu, or wired in round 2, and you got a 10-0, which means you took all the zones.
So basically, he had 2 models left on the board on the end of the game.
Oof.
And that was turn 2. So he had a hidden deployment cutter, and then he had a squallow. And I didn't quite realize he had a cutter until I was like, wait a minute, I've killed most everything on the board. Where's the other point? This is turn 1.
Yeah.
He learned quite quickly what his Sien finally shown, where it was like smoke grenade or smoke grenade launcher. His Sien stands up and goes blah 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 and
We
kills
told you
everything.
All last episode, the thing we were
Well,
like,
he finally
don't you
gave me
do
an
this?
opportunity to do it. There was just no opportunity otherwise.
right.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
So
that
I just
is
go
one. That is one
and-
fucked guy. If you smoke shoot him with a visored HMG, that's cool.
Oh, he was just like, oh, I hit on 2s. Oh, I hit on.
Cutter.
Oh no. The cutter didn't appear until way later in the game. I mean, way later. I mean, like at the end of my turn 1.
Mhm.
But I even did some like long discover shoots, and I killed some of his ARO pieces, which was amazing. And it just everything just kind of went well. And then the Sujan did the best everything and just got him behind, and it was like AP shotgun, boom, 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 and everything died. And then that's pretty much the story of it. Everything else can be like whatever at that point, and the game was over.
The final round is Owen, and I'm sure there's a story.
Oh, yeah.
So why don't we save that one for you guys to fight about, and Owen can tell us about his week and his first 2 games because he was at the same tournament. And we'll save round 3 for you guys talking about together.
One thing I do want to say was it was great because he clearly hadn't played a ton, but at the end of the game he had the perfect right attitude in that it was I should have deployed that guy here. Oh, I could have done this. And it wasn't like, oh, I brought this shitty list and blah 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 blah.
No, you played
it
a
was
Dan.
like,
You just played another Dan. Dan met a Dan. So he had a
it was like I crushed him, absolutely crushed him. But it was like a positive, like, this is a fun game. Oh, now I know how to mitigate that. And afterwards, he's like, "Well, I brought my other list, and with the things that I learned from the game against you, I crushed my other opponent, and I learned how to." And I was like, "Oh, awesome!"
That's awesome.
So I just wanted to mention that because that was super cool.
Yeah, it looks like he went and won both sets of games. Yeah, he won his first game and then he won his last game too.
Bam.
All right, Owen, you played 3 games.
I did.
You did.
My first opponent was very new to the game, and it became more of a walkthrough, talk through of how Infinity works. Get a lot of proxies and was
to interrupt Owen briefly here. This was like a friendly beginner tournament that had no prize pool and no entry fee.
Whoa! I brought prizes.
Surprise prizes.
But yeah, I played he was very new, and we just kind of like, I don't know. He was playing Vanilla Combined Army, and his list had the Anathematic, Norkius, Bitten Kiss, and Kodali.
That was net list.
So
yeah, he took the greatest hits.
200 points of these best characters, and all of them died to the portable autocannon. Yeah. Where he had a type, like, to give you an example of like where he's new, he's got his Mim 6 or size 6 hacker man, right? And Uxia, and then he deploys a Taiga like almost base to base beside it. So Uxia is just like, I shoot the Taiga with the template, thus hitting big man. And now that reveals you. So don't do that. Or like he had Bitten Kiss on like Overwatch, watching down to shoot pitchers, but it's like, that's cool, but I can't really be hacked. I don't have anything hackable, and this autocannon is a lot better than your combi rifle. And then Norkius like ran out to go face to face with a digger, and he beat that digger, but the autocannon got him. And I was just kind of, and then we talked about like what could have been done differently and how to spread out. And
you played Vanilla Ariadne, by the way, for those.
I did play Vanilla Ariadne, yes, some jank. And then
you got a loner Den McConnelly from Dan.
Yeah, a stolen Den McConnelly.
It's never going back.
No, I got him back. He even offered it back. I didn't even have to steal him back.
Look at you lying.
He did his job. Second game though, I played a guy who he hadn't really done tournaments, but he had clearly played a bunch, and he was playing Onyx and had his burst 3 sniper tag. He had a link team of the Unidrons with Nexus and like the plasma sniper there, and it's like, all right, he's got plasma snipers all over the place. Dogs are susceptible to plasma. This is a threat. I kind of messed up my first turn where I should have just opened up the portable autocannon on that tag right from the get-go, but I did all this smoke shenanigans and then was like, oh, I'm just going to lose 2 dogs and not kill anything of value. But one guy, Mr. Denma, came up on the side having rolled +3 fizz, and he killed like 6 orders.
Oof.
Just intuitive attacking chain rifles through his automatic smoke and then running away and being immune to the flamethrowers of other guys because he dodged on 17s. And
that's really good.
And then he moves dodge +2. So he's like, okay, well, goodbye. And that was how that went.
Here I go killing again.
Yeah. And so turn 1, he in all fairness to that match, again, Mr. Tank Hunter, he was kind of like just blowing up that tag. Like I shot him. There was one chance where it was like his last order on his turn where he had the opportunity to shoot the Tank Hunter, and I beat him 1 dice to the 3 dice, which it could have gone either way there. But in beating him, it downed him, and then I shot the body to finish him off on my turn, and there was no more fixing it. And then after that, it was just like diggers and Denma running through his back line, just finishing everything except for the link team off. But by that point, it's like, you're going to move up and take the objective. Here's these 2 bears. They're just around. They're waiting. And so, end of turn 2, we kind of talked it over about the lack of MSV being a real hitter and not allowing me to go first. Like, everyone let me go first except for Dan. And it was a mistake for everyone who let me do that.
I knew kind of what you had. I was like, no.
No, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you.
And then I played Dan in the final round.
You did. You did. And who was the champion of this beginner tournament? You two fucking sharks. You two chuds rolled into a beginner tournament like a couple of fucking swimming tumors.
I at least gave him a game.
He almost did it. He stopped me
Almost
from getting
gotcha.
10 points.
He did. He did. It was what, 6-3 at the end?
7-3, but
7-3. That ain't bad.
It's like I stole 3 points from him.
And that'll
Kinda.
burn him forever.
I mean, W is a W. Like, there were some choices that Dan could have made that
he
he
says
could have won.
WSW after complaining
Look.
that all of his hard fought wins with vanilla Aleph didn't feel good and he hated them.
That was a nightmare tournament. Oh
Yeah.
my god! Like, you don't understand, Ash. Every one of those games was a horror show of like dice
Crits
just
and
betraying
dice.
me
Yeah,
all
it's
over
true.
the place,
I
and then
know.
just like one turn for 3 orders, I'd get really lucky, and that would win me the game.
I
And that
need you
was
to
like,
understand that you on tilt is my favorite thing in the entire world. So that just sounds
it's
like
wonderful.
It's a dream tournament. It's just watching you be on tilt.
3
forever.
rounds of that.
He got so miserable during our game.
Oh, I can only
Yeah.
sweet nectar to me. Sweet tears of Owen. It would have been amazing just watching him be on tilt the whole time because he did everything right and it still failed. It makes me so happy.
What was the scenario we played in that final round? Unmasking.
Supplies. Or no,
No,
in that one.
unmasking.
Unmasking was the supplies
This
was the
event.
one where you were tilted against me.
Yeah, but we already talked
unmasking
about that
is
one.
what we played. So unmasking. So I go first. I bring a Sun Tzu list because I'm like, well, let's try to make him work. He kind of worked my first game, but the first game was kind of wash, so who knows. And then it was kind of like, okay, I know there's all these bears, and then my Sujan shotgun has been a hero all like both my games, just absolute hero. And this time there's like the massive tall building and everything, and he's like hiding on rooftops. I'm like, if I had a Sujan with a Spitfire, I'd be a wet dream.
I wasn't on rooftops. You were like, I want to go on all the rooftops.
No, you were on the rooftops when you deployed with all
the
your
the 4-inch tall rooftop.
yeah, because we couldn't deploy on the rooftops
With that
was
one
the rule of
dog.
the table.
One dog was on a rooftop. All over the rooftop, he says.
Everywhere.
Yep.
Raining off the rooftops.
Yep.
Yep.
Anyway, he moves up, turn 1. One grunt makes his infiltration. Uxia makes his infiltration. Uxia is in such a position that if he moves either of his link teams, they're eating a boarding shotgun. So he's like, I won't do that. I'm going to use the Sujan. And he goes up and kills the grunt. And then he moves up with his lieutenant for some reason to discover shoot a foxtrot, which he succeeds at as well. And then his link comes up and you reveal one of the civilians and kill them. And that's kind of your first turn, right? I don't think you did anything else. You took some pot shots elsewhere, but
so to paint the picture of this table, it's like a bunch of like little tiny buildings / stands, and there's this massive building in the middle, and then so I'm like kind of like huddled up. I'm like, I got first turn. I'm huddled up behind these little stands, and then like not fully realizing there's like an open stand.
Right.
Like Uxia just like pops right in the middle of that open stand and happens to see like 7 of my guys,
Oof.
and I'm like, oh. Yeah, I guess that's the thing that I didn't quite realize. Okay. So I was like, So if I activate any of those 7 guys, there's a template coming at me to hit all 7 of these guys. So I was like, I am screwed. And so I just activated it with other things. And then like 2 orders left. I'm like, this Takini is going to break from the link and walk over and discover. And then I hard rolled it. And then he walked away, and in a face-to-face roll where I had a combi rifle at BS11 and he had a boarding shotgun in hit mode, I won the face-to-face and killed Uxia. And I was like, I should have done that at the beginning of the turn. Then I could develop my board a lot better. But anyways, then he came in and started, killing stuff, as he does. But luckily, I had killed a bunch of his specialists. So he only had like 1 specialist, 2 specialists. Came with the war driver and pushed 2 buttons. But then he only had the war driver and 1 other specialist left,
Right.
which I had discovered. Huh?
Or sorry, not a Fort Dominic. What are they called? Straylock.
Mm-hmm. So then he hurt me real good, and I had 8 orders left, 4 in one group, 4 in the other. And then I just had my head completely
I think you're
backwards.
missing the key moment that lost you the game.
Go ahead.
when a Cameronian comes up on the side and puts his chain rifle across the Sujan, his lieutenant, what was a Shien but turned out to be Sforza, and one of his specialists, and hits all 4 of them twice.
Oof.
Doesn't die, does 2 wounds to his lieutenant, putting him on no wounding cap, puts Sforza on dogged, kills the specialist, and then his Sujan dodges past me, and in doing so, puts himself in line of fire of the portable autocannon, who then reveals and just immediately kills him.
Yeah, I was like all happy in this kind of one little corner, and then the Sujan's like does a little spin under these chain rifles and like comes out and like adjusts his baseball cap, and he's like, "Oh yeah!" And then the portable autocannon comes out, surprise attack, and goes, "Kablam!"
Just obliterates him.
And just his face just disappears against the side of the building, and I was like, "Goodbye, sweet prince."
Then Lieutenant Scout Ohotnik stands up and kills his lieutenant, and then goes back prone and hides again.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, I failed every armor save on Sun Tzu. I mean, he's only armor 4, but still, I should have made a couple of those.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, haha, I have like a breaker combi rifle and a viral rifle against the dog man. I'm like, let's kill him. Nope, he makes all his saves. He just doesn't die.
One. He failed 1.
Oh.
He didn't die though.
Yeah, he failed 1 out of 3 with 0 armor. What are you gonna do? So that I was like, ugh. But we figured out, like, so basically my second turn was I walked up and crit his last specialist, and so he couldn't push any more buttons, which means he couldn't reveal the real one, which was hiding on the other side of the board. So at least that denied him 3 points and gave me 2 points. Which was nice. And I already killed a specialist, or one of the things. So I'm like, okay, I got 3 points, and he's kind of capped. But then what I mistakenly did was I kept it into 2 groups, and I was trying to walk out and trade templates with them. And I'm like, I'm going to template him. And they're like, I dodge on a 16. I'm like, ooh, this was a bad idea. I'm going to template him again. There's a 20% chance he fails. No, they just don't fail. They don't take any damage. And I'm like, well. And then at that point, the antipode was dancing around and went into my other guys, and then basically we theory crafted where if I just put everyone in one group, because I had like still 4 command tokens left, I could put everyone in the one big group, and then I had a chance of killing his main guy and winning the game, just barely. Things would have had to go right. It was still an uphill battle, but in theory could have happened, which is always good at the end of the game of, okay, we've made these decisions. He clobbered me, but I've had myself in a position to maybe do something at the end. So, I mean, it was a fun game. It wasn't really one-sided. It was somewhat one-sided in that he had most of his army left and my army was all dead at the end. But
I mean, in all fairness, we only got to the bottom of 2.
Shh.
Not, like, you had no models remaining at the end of turn 2.
I mean, that's how it goes.
That feels like a relevant detail you're leaving out.
It was a close game, and it was right down to the wire.
Dan had 7 points left at the end of the game. It was 156 to 7.
Also,
he had his flashball left.
I forgot my Garuda existed.
Don't forget your
Garuda.
Garuda.
So I actually had one, and he was a specialist. So like you kind of had the bear protecting the one and the antipode protecting the other. So, but I feel like
in between them.
Well, he was in the back. He didn't do anything in that game.
Yeah, but he was protecting the.
Dan was an honorary bear. He's a bear.
He wasn't protecting shit.
I mean, he had a TI in the one game.
He didn't do anything in our game at all. He was just a dude in the back.
Didn't need to.
Just a dude.
He's second wave. First wave is the werewolves. Second wave is Denma. Third wave is the bears. That was my plan in every game, and we never made it to bears.
My main failure in the match was I tried to peace trade with my my Guangxi, and then realized I was just wasting orders and making the bears and wolves dance around in front of me, but I wasn't accomplishing anything. And then I was like, ooh, I wasted those orders, and I could have, but I'm like, I should have just been shooting like combi rifles. It's like, 4 dice combi rifles. Hit them a bunch of times. They're going to eventually fail something. Throw dice at them. It just didn't work. And then my Sujan just randomly dying and I didn't understand the threat of the portable autocannon of this random little shitter dude hiding up in some building across the board. But then I learned what it did,
And then there was nobody left.
and then I just died
when I play
horribly.
Ariadne, I like never bring a portable autocannon.
I know, it's very funny.
And then it's like, I'm gonna try this out. I've had him painted. I've never used him, and I need
Like he's
something that
like
can
only
shoot.
2 dice, but when you surprise attack,
But you can't surprise a second arrow. It has to be an active turn.
No, yeah, it
was on my turn because the dog walked out and he
I dodged in the line of sight.
in ARO into line of fire of the portable autocannon.
Oh, okay. He had a stroke.
And then I'm like, time to switch pools. Autocannon shoots.
Well, there was a camo marker on the other side of the board doing nothing. So
yeah,
it was.
Yeah. You thought you were clever, but then forgot that there was a tank gun on a little man hiding.
Yeah, if that tank man didn't exist, obviously that's a big deal. But it was like if I had made one more dodge, I get around the one corner and then I can go hunt back guys in the back kind of thing.
Right.
But he does leave out that he did the first thing he'd encounter when he came after the guys in the back would be a digger. And then the second one is another bear.
Okay.
That list was stupid.
All right.
I kill a digger.
Moving on.
I had my full armor 5, 2 wounds, and no wounding cap. I was fresh.
Both of you post your lists in the patron chat, and that way it'll head off any questions for the lists. I'm sure that will be the next question is what are the lists? Well, for me,
I played the same list all day, by the way. I didn't switch no matter what the scenario was.
You never do. You never do. You were punching down anyway the whole day, so it's fine.
The lowest.
Hey.
Owen's worst part was it was the backache he got from punching down all day. So for my week, I got to finish off the Escalation League. We played through the last session, which was Uplink Center. And you'll be glad to hear that I never got to spend a single order on my my Shakush. It never left its deployment spot.
Well, why not? It's so good at things. It could have been the piece to help you.
I went second because it was Uplink Center, and then Ulan walked over to line of fire with it and just blew its head off in one round. Now, in my defense, I failed my ARO, and he triple hit.
Him? He failed his ARO? BS13?
My Shakush failed his ARO. I know. He's
Did 14. They nerf him? Wasn't he BS14 before? But he's not 14. Now.
He is. He's 14 still.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Fine. We'll let him have that.
Anyway, I died in a single order, a single exchange. It was tremendous. A bolt sniper link, then proceeded to kill my arrow pieces. Yeah. And then I lost my TR bot. So basically between the bolt sniper and the Ulan, because I let them go first, they only had 6
versions of you playing that you have a Shakush and get a TR bot in it.
I am playing Assassins.
Oh my god.
Okay, moving on. So this is my 5th game. I like how you can watch all of this happen. The battle port's already gone up. I lose 100 points before I get to spend a single order. I have a 200-point army list left. All I have left is my group 1. I have 9 models left in my group 1, but I only have 8 orders on turn 1. But one's my IR who's hidden, and then the other one is my he basically overextended and left himself next to my my Fide, and my Fide just walked over and killed the Ulan. So spent 3 overs, walked over, everybody discovered him, he just kept walking, got there, and then just chopped the Ulan to pieces in 2 orders.
I hate Fide so much.
Yeah, just broke his legs.
I can't believe you killed him in 2 orders.
I crit him on the first one, 26.
And he just sucked at armor, I guess.
Well, it's only damage 3 armor rolls.
13.
It's damage 14. He's 12 plus 2 because he's martial arts 3.
Oh, he's martial arts 3.
Yeah, he's martial arts 3.
I mean, 14 armor 3.
14 armor 6. So because he's a 6, he's 6.
Oh, were you the DA one?
Always the DA one, yeah, because that was always 3 dice. He took 2 wounds, and then second order killed him. Yeah, because he had 9, so he just had.
And here I am with hit mode, heavy shotgun, hitting everything with AP and taking 7 orders to kill fucking Gator.
Anyway, and then from basically I got my points back that way. I killed the Blackfriar in melee with the second half of that order pool. Yara killed what's her name, who's in the middle of the table, Ada Swanson. Blew her right off with a sniper with a shock marksman rifle, and then we were back to even Stevens by turn 2. I'd managed to cause like 100 points of casualties as well. And so, yeah, game ground on. I took the center beacon, or the center like thing at the end of the game. I think it's like a not supply box. It's something. It's a control one. So it's three to control the middle, 2 to hack a console, and 1 to hold a console at the end of the game. And I won 6-3 when it was over. 4 because he kept his lieutenant, and he actually managed to kill my lieutenant at the end of the game. And that was it. That was my game. But we also got, which was really cool, and I thought I would share with everybody, our Spotify wrap for this year. And we had some really interesting stats in 2020. I just wanted to share them with everybody. We have on average like 900 weekly Spotify subscribers just on Spotify, because it's what Spotify sends you, right? So there's more that are through other things. I think we have 900 weekly listeners. 700 and something of them are whatchamacallit, are on Spotify. And this is just in our first year, because we've just finished our first year basically of recording and putting up podcasts. And we are in the top 10 podcasts listened to by 705 of those people. So out of like our 900 or something followers on Spotify, or like 1,000 followers on Spotify, we're in the top 10 of their podcasts for like 705 of them. For 593 of them, we're in the top 5. So for like 600 people, we are the top 5 of the podcasts that they listen to like most frequently, or they listened to the most last year. And for 233 of them, we are the number 1 podcast. So like 233 people listen to Tactical Awareness more than they listen to any other podcast this year on Spotify, which is fucking crazy to me. I don't know what you're getting out of this, guys, but I'm very.
I didn't realize we had so many losers listening to us.
I know, right? I'm shocked. It's more just like I'm impressed, but I'm also shocked. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why you guys are here for this, but I'm glad you are, and I really appreciate it. So thank you. Please don't stop listening. It will be a giant, massive strike to my ego, and the other 2 of them won't care because they don't have emotions or souls. And then that was it for me for Infinity. So let's go to the mailbag. You guys were very, very good at filling the mailbag this week. We have like 4 pages of questions now. So I think we're gonna take a couple extras, because a couple of these are like real fast. I'm going to go with a couple of the real fast ones first. Rich, aka Team Max, asked, what's the opening song in the podcast? It is a royalty-free song called Built to Last by NEFFEX. It's available on YouTube Music. And it's like used by Creative Commons. And then where's another one that was, there's a couple in here that were really quick. I just want to like bang them out, because that way people aren't waiting if it's like a yes, no thing. Oh, here it was. Colonel Spawns asked, if a new player has their 10 models, some terrain, the N4 token set, and the rest of like the basics needed to play, what else would you want? What do you think they should get to be like really prepared to play the game? He mentioned already HVTs, the ops deck, and gameplay, it's that kind of thing. Well, I think he answered it kind of already. Like, you want the HVTs, you want an ops deck, and maybe like a measuring widget for getting around buildings and stuff, like some kind of measuring widget. That's all I can really think of. What other basics can you guys think of that someone would want if they're just starting Infinity?
Tape measure.
Yeah, you do want like a longish tape measure.
Yeah, you don't need it a lot, but like you need it when you need like the long one, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But
I really like having a measuring widget that's divisible by 8, because all the range bands are by 8, right? So like I like that all the Arsenal ones are, all the ones that I have on Death Ray Designs are by 8 as well, for that same reason, because you can just measure in bands even if you need to. So like if it's hard to get a measure in somewhere, you can just like step count basically to find the range. Like
8, 6, 4, 2.
Mm-hmm.
You have a widget that does all that. It's really nice.
Yeah, that's the Arsenal one too, actually, but I think that's perfect.
More pro tokens than you think. Get something. You won't have quite enough tokens in the token set, especially when you start getting to like 300-point armies. And so it's just kind of one of these, as you find something to use as a prone token. I
Having
find.
like generic tokens too, like just generically 25 mil tokens or generic, like I have a bunch of like generic just like GMG tokens I use for all kinds of stuff. I use them for beacons, and if someone's on suppression, or if someone has like one of the like bespoke things that you pick up during a game that there isn't really like a model for.
Yeah, and
There you
then
go.
I really, if you're going to be using camo at all, a 3D camo token is really,
Hell
really
yeah.
nice.
Because you'll forget about them too. Like not even your opponent
Yeah.
can't see them. You will literally forget about your camo tokens. I've done it all the time. And I forget arrows for that reason too. And that's too after dice are rolled. I don't go back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Other than that, that's really all you need. You don't need a ton of fancy stuff.
Sweet. All right. I think that was most of the quickie ones. So let's jump in and get some of the rest. Starting with Vagabond Dave asks, what is your take on the N2A armies? What's the best? What's the worst? And what are some of their tactics? I'm going to just say we're not going to answer this one because this feels like our faction breakdown for N2A. But we could do like a rapid fire, like just answer in like one word answers, like no explanation. Each of us, what we think best is, what we think worst is, and what their like main tactical line is. I'll go first. Best, Starco.
Oh yeah. Best Japanese secessionist army.
You think best, Dan?
Drew's, because it's the only one I've played.
Worst. I'm going to say Ikari Company.
What's the one with the Joha guys?
Oh, Sparkor.
Yeah, they're the worst.
I definitely don't think it's them.
I definitely
They're the worst.
I think White Company's not great, but
really,
I have no bearing for that.
Okay. And then what is the main?
Actually, wait, they're the ones with Karu.
Yeah,
no, it's not going to be them.
It's not them. No, I think it's still a Ikari Company because they're
probably a Ikari Company.
They're super schizophrenic. What's the strength of the army that you said? On like one word, what does JSA do great?
Have a model line.
Sure.
Like honestly, all the rest of them were just like, what did we have left over in the bin? Press like JSA is like, this is an army of guys who are unique to this army. Are they good? Are they better than the random slapdash together of everything else? Yeah, I kind of think so. There's more going on there than anywhere else.
Sweet. Mom, I'm gonna say for Starco, Nowflink. Nowflink and warbands.
Nowflink sounds amazing.
Yeah, Nowflink's great. What about you, Dan?
X visor, grenade launcher, EM grenade launcher, and pitchers.
Good answer. Good answer.
No, seriously, having an X visor with a pure link, and then
we talked about it last week. Yeah, we talked about it last week. It's amazing.
You just throw those.
Fucking amazing.
The grenade launcher is amazing, but also just pitchers. You can throw pitchers. I haven't done it because I kind of despise the missile launcher play. But eventually I'll try it. Because they're like one of the best at doing it, I think.
Can't believe you're going to say Starco and not comment on the amazing Anaconda Trip Hammer Harris.
Yeah, that was your favorite part of it. I know
it's something.
I'm talking about my favorite part of it. You only loved it because you rolled total immunity, and what was the other one? You had one. We had one. Yeah, that was Mim 6. It's so stupid. You're like I'm gonna make it good, and then you just rolled really good for your war gear. Oh, 10 out of 10.
Thus making it good. Duh.
Good toy. Yeah. This anecdotal evidence is purely.
Come on, that one time I rolled TI on a tag and he did well. Thus, the tag is good.
That's perfect. No notes. All right, moving on. Jason asks for all of us, with alpha strikes being so common in this game, what do you think about generating orders for both sides at the start of each round instead of the start of the player turn? I wonder if this would shift the focus of the game into positioning and scoring over simply killing all the models.
Interesting.
I think the game would never last more than a turn.
Yeah, It would be a different game entirely.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a different game entirely. I don't actually believe that alpha strikes are as big a problem as they can be. They are a tactic some armies do exceptionally well, but some armies don't alpha strike, and some missions don't reward you for alpha striking. So yeah, I think alpha striking is a very simple way to play Infinity, especially like when you come into it from other game systems. But I don't think that solution would do anything other than unbalance the game. I don't think it actually make anything better. What do you guys think?
I kind of have to sit down and like math hammer it out a little bit, where it's like, wait, what does this actually mean?
But I don't care if I go second. I'll just be prone, and or rather, I'll have anyone who's disposable will be standing. Anyone who's not disposable will be prone, and then the not disposable people will kill everyone on your turn, so that you don't get orders on your second turn. And then the alpha strike will just be turn 2 now.
It puts way much power in the second player turns.
Yeah, it's true actually.
Because now I don't care if my arrow pieces die because I'm getting the value of them regardless. So get ready for like a wave of garbage dudes to stand in front, and then I still get all their orders out of them. And then when my hitter comes, you're out of position because you have to fight your way past all of my like random garbage, and I still have a full order pool to do it.
It effectively creates like the double turn mentality from Age of Sigmar. It makes you want to go second because
you get full orders twice.
You get full orders twice, and you also control how your opponent is going to spend their orders on turn 1, because null deployment costs your opponent orders. Like the whole point of null deploying is that it costs your opponent orders to engage you, which is in limited supply anyway. So if you combined still having like the strategic command use of like reducing their order pool with they then are the ones who will generate less orders next round, you've created a big swing basically, and you would just always go second.
I do think there's a problem with alpha striking. I don't think that's the solution.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time,
I think your problem with alpha striking is more to do with direct template weapons and non-interactive damage sources than it is with actually alpha striking.
No, I think mechanically there's a few things out there right now that are like a negative gameplay experience that like, okay, that's cool that you can do that, but is it worth it for all of the people that are going to have to go through the learning process of what that does to somebody? And I don't know.
Like what?
Any mobility move tag, I think, is on that list. So if you have your climbing pluses, your super jumps, your things like that, those guys on turn 1, there's basically no defense if you're even remotely new to the game. Anything that's deployment zone drop is a punishment in a way that like you can't really prepare for that if you didn't know that existed. Which I guess it just means like, oh, come on, just know all the things about the game. But I don't know. It's one thing if a guy, like you see him walk up behind you and like sneak around your side and you're like, damn, I really should have been watching that hallway. It's another thing if it's like, oh yeah, I have that ability that you have, but mine's just a little bit better, so I get to do this. Hello. I don't know. I think there's some things that could be adjusted there. I don't know exactly how you do it, but I almost feel like as far as drop troops and parachutists and stuff like that, there should be a turn 2 requirement on them. But I don't know. I don't have an answer. It's basically anything that is the stuff that becomes the noob crusher mentality. That's the things that I don't like.
Yeah, the more I play, I realize one model, if you deploy properly, one model can't do it all.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be prepared for it and have those things. Otherwise, one model can do it all, and then it feels bad. So it's just kind of that learning experience of building lists and deploying.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess you could argue that, like, well, once you have that deck of cards, that understanding, those things aren't the threats that they are, because they can't kill everything. Like, you're not going to lose everybody to a tag because you're going to have your repeaters and hackers and powerful ARO pieces that the tag is threatened by to stay away, or the Achilles of the world, and they won't be able to walk in from behind you because you've covered all of your back holes, and they can't just walk through in that side. And like, that's neat. And it makes it so that as you become more experienced, they're less oppressive. But I think the Alpha Strike is much more of a thing that gets you when you're not as familiar with the factions or the rules.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but I mean that's true. Is that Alpha Strike, or is that actually people just not thinking in multiple dimensions, right? Like,
it's Alpha Strike because they don't know, right? Like,
it's not Alpha Strike is something a player is doing to you. It's not something that, but if it's possible to stop it, then is it that the game has Alpha Strike in it, or is it that it's someone unfamiliar with like the possibility of what they're looking at allows that thing to happen to them? I don't consider that to be an Alpha Strike problem.
Defined terms, Alpha Strike would be I strike you first prior to you being able to strike. Like, it's the turn one I played against Tau on an open board. Like, cool.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is
I learned my lesson, I guess.
The opportunity to do that because of their lack of experience. And I'm not saying that's nice or good or right, but I'm saying I don't know if that's the game's fault or if that's somebody.
But I mean, there could be other powerful
player,
ways
right?
of doing things that don't make it that there's also this gap that makes it for the new player.
Yeah, but I don't think that that's ever going to go out of infinity, because you just get brutalized by something else. And then also,
in any game where it's turn-based, any game that's turn-based will have an Alpha Strike if it's possible to attack the other person turn
first.
One.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
And fair enough. I guess the skills that go outside the mold would be the ones that I'd want to reduce.
Sure. My question is like, what do they have left then? Like, all those deployment score droppers are, one, super rare, two, usually named characters, like individuals, so you can only ever have one of each type. You can't spam them, I think, with the exception of the Raziat, and he's crazy expensive. And only exists in like 2 out of like 28 factions. Three. Ariadna, Nomads.
I don't know if I'd say 30 points is crazy expensive, but fair enough.
Crazy expensive for, like, again, I think you can counter deploy. It has the same problem that Clang Plus, Super Jump Tag has, where you can deploy mines and you can watch your corners and you can have back-facing troops that mean that thing just dies when it shows up. And with the exception of Durok, most of those things will just die if you shoot them once.
Yeah, again, all of these have solutions to deal with, but because they show up so rarely and because they can be so overwhelmingly game-changing, that's the only one. I don't care if you die because somebody ran across the board and murdered you. Like, you watched that happen. You could have learned how to, like, you knew that they were going to come and shoot you. That's like, whatever, you're on your own there. But it's the like the first time somebody plays against a Toha player and finds out what that eraser does. Like, that's the same mentality. And it's like, oh, well, okay, that's a threat. Who has that? Oh, just this guy. What?
Just this one guy.
Oh, wait, so it's not a camo marker? No, it's called an impersonation marker. Oh, okay. So how do I discover it? Well, you do once at -6, and then you do it again. And then after that, then you can fight it. Well, who has that? These 3 factions. And then there's 4 models, technically. It's like, I think
going back to the original question, kind of understanding where the question is coming from of, oh, I hate going second because the Alpha Strike hurts so hard.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to be unit.
It's
about the game.
Just know that experienced players, I'm not calling you unexperienced, but a lot of people love to go second based on scenario, where it's a huge advantage to go second.
Yeah.
And so that's often the case.
Where I was like, I agree that I think that there's some power in alphas. I don't think that's the solution. I don't have a solution. I like those skills being in the game because they add more to it. But at the same time, I'm going to sit there and recognize that, like, this is a negative play experience for people.
You don't understand what they do.
Like,
anytime someone isn't familiar with something,
and like, if you're going to sell Infinity,
it feels like a gotcha.
If you're going to sell Infinity with the idea that everyone's basically using the same tools in different combinations, except for that there are some tools that aren't in the same combinations.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah, but the vast majority are. Yeah, but that is not at all, I think, a negative gameplay experience if you're being brought into a collaborative gaming experience. right? You're not being gotcha'd. If someone's gotchaing you with something like that and not explaining what it does, not saying, hey, you literally do this to your opponents, Owen. You say, hey, have you ever played against a Sundeck button before? Hey, have you ever, you know what I mean? Like,
he does that when he doesn't have a Sundeck button in his list.
yeah.
It's not an altruistic
he doesn't
thing.
do that at gaming night though. He doesn't do that when it's there's no stakes and there's no points and it doesn't matter. Like, he's not gonna do that to try and create a gotcha situation. I think gotcha situations are where negative gameplay experiences come from, and the definition of that is you didn't know what this did. I then leaned into this so hard that it just railroaded you. Gotcha. And that,
oddly, the gotcha
like
situation, the gotcha situation is a positive once you get to the high level. You know what I mean? Like when you're playing against someone who knows every single profile and knows everything about every faction, and then you have a gotcha moment, and they're like, "Oh shoot, how did I not see that?" It's like almost like a positive thing of like, "Aha!" The Infinity still has those like things that you can surprise people with. I guess it's not a gotcha, but it's like
not right, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah,
you're right. It's not a gotcha.
It's more like that's more like an innovation thing where like they knew that they could see the pieces, they didn't see how they fit together. That kind of thing. Yeah. All right, moving on. Seardaman, our last question for this week, asks, what's the most surprisingly successful tactic, unit, or synergy that you've encountered while playing Infinity? So something that you underrated, but that is actually really cool now that you've actually played with it. A thing you did not think was good, but you now recognize as being good.
I feel like the Sujan never really did much for me. And then this past 3 games that I just had, I'm just like, oh, climbing plus and boarding shock 1+1 burst with +1 BS attack damage. It's just really, really good. It's just the mobility on like a piece that's like can take a hit, it can shrug off hits and just rampage. And there's like only the very specific things that are good at dealing with them. And just having that power with the mobility, the only really thing you don't want to run into is a hacker. Otherwise,
was that it underperformed for you for so long that you like didn't see the value in it and like you finally got it to perform? Yeah. That's hard when you like intrinsically understand this thing is good. Why can't I get this to work?
You know, like maybe it's not that good. Maybe I'm just like, it's because people are ready for, I don't know. It's just kind of, you know, things get in your head, especially like, oh, I brought like a tag list or like, look at my Shikush, and it just like dies immediately. In this case, the Shikush is also bad, so, you know, don't think it's good.
It was bad. It was also outclassed by one of the premier tank hunting tags in the game. I don't feel bad about dying to an Ulan. Like, I actually I have no feeling about that happening whatsoever. It wasn't good or bad because the Ulan can kill anything it decides it wants to kill.
Actually, so here's one. I keep on going back and forth, but like a Canron hacker.
Oh yeah, you do struggle with that guy, don't you?
Because it's like I have a love-hate relationship because he seems so good on paper, and then you play him and he's garbage. But then you learn how to play him, and he has some redeeming features. But then he's also not that great. But then you realize, like, if I have a hacker that is Holomask and Holoprojector, that means I can do some hacking, and then I go into 3 individual pieces.
You sure do.
So when they try to hack me back, it's a shell game, and hacking is inefficient as it is. And so all of a sudden you're like, nah.
Yeah. Holoprojector killer hacking device with the Cybermask is wild because they all turn into Cybermasks, which means you have 3 little impersonation markers walking around, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say I expected him to be really good, and then I felt like he was horrible, and then I kind of like, oh, he's not that horrible after all.
Mm-hmm.
What's yours, Ash?
For me, honestly, it's I think more like the letdown than the like goodness.
Yeah, the high expectations that just don't work out.
The high expectations that just don't work out. Yeah, where like, you know, you painted something and you're really excited to play it, you put it on the table and you want it to be good, and it's just not great. Or you played against it so often, and the person that they were playing it with like really screwed you over with this thing, and yeah, you're really looking forward to using it on other people, and it just doesn't do the same thing. And that would be Day Lamis. I think the answer is I'm just not taking enough of them.
Yep.
Also, I think the other experience I had is I played against Delamies constantly when Owen could have 20 models. And that's one of the things where I'm like struggling to fit Delamies into my list. And I want Delamies to be fantastic because I love them. And I would take 5 every game if I could with Panzerfests because they're just fantastic. But you can't, right? Like you just can't now. You can't. I mean, sorry, you can, but you want to. But there's so much other stuff I want to be able to fit in my list that I just don't. Right? Like you have such a competition in Assassins and in vanilla Hack Islam for just like placement because there's so many great profiles. Also, Owen, I came so close to buying a Black Wind this week.
Yeah.
Mostly because
You want the
mostly
Black
I want the Pandora. I want
The
that.
Pandora?
I want a Pandora for my Assassins.
For Assassins, yeah, all right, sure.
She's great for Assassins. There's so much good high fizz stuff, and she has the +1 burst med kit, so you don't have to link her. She's really
for losers.
Healing's not for losers when you have McMurrow.
Sure.
I was also going to buy another McMurrow because I just want to have one.
Gulam and a link. You just yeets that thing from across the board, and if it doesn't work out, you're like, eh.
I know. I have
Let him be dead.
I have so many things I want to do. It's very funny. Yeah, I can't help myself. But yeah, Delamies, and I think it's because I want them. I want to be able to take tons, and I can't. I want to fit them all in, and I can't. So yeah, that was it for me. Like I recognize that they're good. I know why they're good. I can definitely use them to good effect. I just can't use them to good effect right now because I can't get enough of them.
It was really funny when last Colder and Carbonite when we were like bouncing ideas of the double Sundog butt list.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, but what if you just dropped the Sundog butt and took 5-day Lami? And he's like, I hate that it's better. And then he made 5-day Lamis and 2 Sundog butt list.
He sure did. All right. Well, that's our questions for this week. Thanks so much for everybody asked a question. Go find more questions in. We still have quite a few, but we'll put the link up in the description for the podcast, also the video on YouTube, and anywhere else that you get this podcast. So let's dive into the main event. It's skills time. If you haven't tuned in the last episode, what we do is we round robin our top 3s. If any of them are shared, then we shout it out and we go through in no particular order. These aren't ranked by effectiveness or quality or anything like that. And some of these might seem very obvious and trite, but remember, this podcast is aimed directly at helping people who might not play Infinity that often to see the value in things they might not otherwise see. So let's dive in. Who wants to go first?
The unit that I had that I thought was underwhelming. No.
And these are skills. So these are. Oh, did you not do yours?
Yeah, it's fine. Skills.
No, do it. What was it?
The Namur. It's the same thing for you.
Oh, okay.
It's a model who on paper should be good. And it's just like, why do you suck so much? You have everything. You have everything. You're a light infantry with 2 wounds, total immunity, climbing plus, dodge +3, dodge +1, specialist, terrain total, CC +1 burst, breakers, EMRATs, tack aware, EM weapons. It's never even complete an objective. Just dies. Anyway, the more exists. Skill combo, shock immune, no wounding gap.
Yeah, it's really good.
That is a good one. I mean, it's effectively the way that they've undercosted heavy infantry and also made some models that are effectively heavy infantry but aren't hackable.
So, like, advantage is you don't leave a corpse. Detriment is you don't leave a corpse.
Yeah, you can't come back.
Which is
can't be abused.
But also you can't get stepped on for
objectives,
missions and all that kind of stuff,
or kidnapped. They can't be in base contact with you. They can't HVAC you.
Yeah. But the thing is like healing is like so overrated in Infinity that it's like there's only like I don't know. With ISS, the only healer really is like the Sofatek, and he's like they're so expensive, and I just feel like they're a complete trap to bring. Eventually I'll try bringing one, but it's just kind of like just turning your brain off to when something dies, it dies. There's no bringing it back, and that's fine. I guess I have a paramedic in a few paramedics, but it's like, those are 50-50 at best. So it's like they're rarely worth taking. So you realize that not being able to bring people back is just fine. It's just fine. And so, yeah, might as well use that no wounding cap in shock immune, and then just you have 2 wound guys.
Mm-hmm. All right, what's yours, Dan? What's your first one?
Mine, it's really fun to use the guard martial art.
Oh yeah, guard martial arts is so good. Guard martial arts is it's not around a lot. You know what I mean? Like it's a fairly rare combination of skills. Like you've got it in O12 with the what is it? That's NCO, not
Alpha
NCO,
and Andromeda.
The Alpha and also I was gonna say the ALF has it in Andromeda, and then Ariadne has it with Veronin.
I don't think he actually has martial arts. Maybe he does now because they got.
I think he has one and guard.
Yeah, I remember because he used to have guard level 3, but then they got rid of the levels on guard, so maybe they've given him martial arts to make up for it, and they have. Yeah,
that's what I thought. Yeah, I thought they did. Who else has guard? Is there any guard model in? I don't think there's any guard model in Nomads at all.
I bet you there's one now, and it's probably the Daemon.
Oh, it's the Daemonist. Oh yeah, it's the Daemonist. I forgot about the Daemonist, but he has martial arts too. Yeah, the Daemonist has it. So it's in Vanilla Nomads and it's in Bakunin.
I love that he has decoy but no marker state.
He's so cool and weird. You just need 2 of them.
Wait, what?
Yeah. It's just two Demonists. Go buy 2 Demonists because one of them is not going to be real. It's such a cool,
really funny.
It's such a weird thing. So to explain to the crowd, if you don't know what guard does, guard is effectively allowing you to make CC attacks inside your zone of control with line of sight. And that's huge. Like you're sending off like a kitty cat or some kind of thing to go fight for you. The faction that does not have guard is Hak Islam. There is no guard in Hak Islam at all.
Is there any guard in Ariadne?
Yeah, Ronan. We just talked about him. And there's none in Pano, I don't think either.
Oh, but he's not in vanilla Ariadne.
For Ronan? He's not in vanilla. Really?
Never mind. I'm lying. I've had it.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Yu Ching probably doesn't have guard either.
Oh, I don't think so.
Maybe.
I'd be surprised. Like the factions who have it, the only surprising faction I think that doesn't have it.
No, they don't either. You're right.
Army.
Yeah, I thought they would have some kind of monster, some kind of like pet monster, like the Morats especially.
The only G skill in is Gizmo Kit. That's a skill. Right. What?
Don't worry, Hacker's a skill too.
Hacker's a skill.
Oh, the skill is Gizmo Kit. You're worse than your Fizz. That's the skill.
Oh, it's the set a number. Yeah, it says a number. Skill is it's like dodge is a skill.
Yeah.
Well, my first one is infiltration, mine layer, camouflage with mimetism. Those are 4 skills that combine up to basically meaning that you can put down inside your zone of control up to anywhere in your half of the table other mim -3 markers, and your opponent doesn't know which ones are mines and which ones are you. So those 4 skills together are there's a couple of models that have it, but they are a super handy and also you can reduce mimetism and whatever to nothing, and also have other markers that show up like that. So like Owen does the thing where he's got camouflage 0 mimetism on Daylamis and on his decoy camouflage when you Sundic Butt, where he gets to like obscure basically who is what, and you have a mixture of like the same stats visible on the markers across the middle of the table, where your opponent has to figure out what's what, and you just place them in weird, inconvenient places and play like a mind game. It's one of my favorite combos of skills.
There's a few of hidden deployment mine layer.
I was about to say the Trinitarian hidden deploy mine layer who puts the mine down but isn't actually there.
So is that possible though?
You bet it is. New mine layer is not like the old mine layer.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that you had to. You just place it down, eh? That's so cool.
Yeah. It used to be
allowed to put it down.
In N3, you had to be
on. Yeah, you had to reveal the guy.
Well.
Yeah,
you don't anymore. All it requires is that they're in the zone of control there, but there's a little addendum in here. Where is it? Yeah, In the deployment phase, do you have to check zone of control using mind layer or coherency when deploying decoys or hollow echoes? Your opponent looks away.
That's amazing.
Oh, interesting.
The mind
You're allowed to
uses
make
the
your opponent look
infiltration
away
and
when
hidden
you're like
deployment.
measuring. Huh.
Yeah, for things like decoys
Look
and stuff like that.
away. It's a special rule.
Yeah.
It says, look away. Don't look at me.
And then they don't know if you're taking a picture or you're measuring mind layer.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's actually kind of fun.
I make my opponents Blair Witch and stand in the corner. That's what I do.
I make them look away no matter what.
Here is your done.
I've played factions that don't even have hidden deploy, and I'm like, you have to turn around for a sec. then you distinctly turn on the camera sound on your phone, and then you just take pictures
Make a
of
bunch
their
of
models.
clicking noises.
Just take some funny selfies.
Yeah. With them facing the wrong way, and you
Just
put them in the background. You're like, this was my opponent.
You just let them you photobomb them with their back turned.
Okay.
Yeah.
The evidence at your serial killer trial, Owen, is just going to be this podcast.
Okay.
That's what it's going to be.
Look, at Colder Than Carbonite, we're going to see the collection of people looking away that we're going to take pictures of.
Oh, Jesus, we should do that and then post them on the Facebook page. Just get all of our selfies with our opponents, but none of them are facing us. They're all just facing away with their arms crossed. And it's just the three of us like assholes taking these like one-man selfies. Yeah, I'm into it. Let's do it.
We'll just start a Reddit thread, and it's just all Infinity players just trolling their opponents, just taking pictures of their behinds.
Real assholes. It's gonna be great. I'm here for it. Let's do it. All right. So that was we went around once. So Owen, what's your next one?
360 visor total reaction is a staple. You can add more to that, but there's not much to be said other than you get to shoot all your bullets and they can't sneak up on you.
Hey, 360 is an equipment, cheater.
Oh, that's right.
Ah,
6 cents total reaction.
6 cents is great.
Yeah,
oh my
6 cents.
6 cents in any skill, basically any offensive
model.
skill. Well, so I'll say I did have one of these. If we're gonna bring up 6 cents, because I had 6 cents hacker. A 6 cents hacker, if you can get one, and if you don't have one in your army list, you can typically create them, because anybody you can go into a core who's a hacker, you can make a 6 cents hacker with, and they are like 6 cents is wildly overpowered. Getting 6 cents for free was one of Owen's great bugbears, and I'm fully in agreement with him that 6 cents should at the very least be a 5-man skill, or even just a pure link skill. I'm
actually okay if they kept it at 4, but switched it over to being same unit composition bonus.
Yeah, composition
like
bonus.
You can get the +2 BS now for being unbroken, but you lose 6 cents. That's perfectly acceptable in my opinion. Unless you have that pure core.
6 cents counters so many other skills. It counters surprise attack, it counters stealth. Like, it's just a huge benefit to anybody who can generate AROs that need a line of sight. You know what I mean? Like, anybody trying to sneak up on you, all those things you talked about as negative play experiences, like deployment zone dudes showing up behind you. Like, 6 cents is a huge thing. Allows you to dodge mines with no penalty. Like, there's so much stuff that 6 cents counters.
I'm actually of the opinion that 6 cents is the strongest ability in the game.
It cancels the most other skills. Like, if you think about it, like MSV cancels mimetism. You know what I mean? Biometric visor cancels surprise attack, and the modifier.
Nothing.
It does it cancels surprise attack all the time,
but only from certain states, not from camo.
No, I think it's all the time.
Wait, what?
I think biometric
visor cancels the. Oh, actually, I suppose they've denested it now. So
it's just. I think it's just all the time. I think it used to be. It used to be from impersonation markers, but I think it just cancels surprise attack.
Okay, yeah, because it was hollow echoes and impersonation was what it used to not. Like you didn't get affected by it.
Right.
Maybe it's just everything now.
Yeah, I think it just cancels because it's an unnested skill, because you don't generate those skills based on something else anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 6 cents. 6 cents in hacker was the one I actually had.
Right. The user ignores surprise attacks benefiting from impersonation or hollow echo. Get fucked, biometric visor. You're useless.
It's not useless. It's still very good.
You also ignore surprise attack from CC. But that's in addition to if it's benefiting from those. So I'm not sure if it requires impersonation or hollow echo to ignore the surprise.
I think it's just all the time in CC.
Yeah, I think it's all the time in CC, but it's a weird way it's written. It's probably like that. I'd allow it. If someone had a biometric visor, I'd be like, You can have this one, buddy.
This one's for you. So yeah, so that's, to me, that's the big, like, I think benefit of Sixth Sense. I can't think of any other skill that allows for the cancellation of so many other effects in the game,
Including just maneuvering. Like
Yeah.
the fact that if someone attacks you from behind and you just attack back with no, like, it's not even like a -3
you can
because
shoot back out of line of fire. You ignore
just shoot 'em.
smoke shooting. You ignore smoke
Yep.
shooting. You know the penalty for smoke shooting, and so you can be shot from across the board in the back through smoke and far back with no penalty.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And you get all the other benefits of having 2 burst, and you get this and you get that.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
wild. It's
And
wild.
you could
Wait.
also be a hacker. Like,
What happens if you're in silhouette contact with an enemy and someone decides to that their own model is of no consequence and they just spray at you? Because as Sixth Sense, are you just allowed to shoot back at them?
So you don't count as having line of fire because you're in contact and melee. What they say is when you are in melee contact, you're only allowed AROs are CC or dodge. And you can't CC because you can't target the thing shooting you, so you'd have to dodge. But you wouldn't suffer a penalty for being in a line of fire.
I don't
It's
even
'cause they-
understand
they
the
were-
question.
So what he's
Okay,
saying
he
is,
said-
he's
The
asking,
guy
can
with
you get
Sixth
to
Sense is being shot at, and
could you make a BS
silhouette
stack even though
contact.
you're in melee?
Got it. Yeah.
And you can't because the only allowed
engaged is going to
arrows.
stop you.
Yeah, the engaged state allows you to only CC or dodge.
So you
or
can
reset, I
dodge
think,
with no
maybe, too.
penalty.
Yeah, you just
Correct.
dodge no penalty.
Okay,
Because being engaged restricts your arrow selection, basically.
gotcha.
Yeah, you can do berserk, CC attack, dodge, idle, reset.
You can't berserk an arrow.
No, but I'm just saying,
Inactive.
these
Yeah,
are
I see what
the
you're
only
saying, I see what you're
skills
saying,
you can do while engaged.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, that was your second, Dan. Your second. Oh, so that was my second as well because we paired up.
Yeah, for melee, I like the Natural Born Warrior CC attack minus or martial arts. Anything that just kind of it just really shuts down anyone who does CC and makes it really annoying.
Mhm.
So I usually like it on like a gunfighter. Like I think the bronze is the one where it's just martial arts level 1, so it's just CC attack -3, and then he's got a para CC weapon at like -6. And I guess that's a weapon, but not a skill. But there are people who do have those skills, and so it's just kind of just being there where it's like, oh, I don't want to gunfight this guy. I'm gonna come slap him, and then you're like, dude, you can't do that either. Suck it. And I don't know. It's a really fun combo. Tao Wu also has like the CC minus attack and the Natural Born Warrior with a natural CC 21. And he can be hollow mask, so he can like pretend to be something scary that you don't want to shoot. And then you send the guy around to be like, I'm gonna hit him in melee. And then
Corsan is Natural Born Warrior CC attack -3, CC 21.
Corsan, I can't wait for the Corsan.
There you
I
go.
can't wait for the Corsan. He's so cool.
It's a little weird that they put it on all the cheat models, but that's fine.
Well, my third one is going to be no wound in cap remote presence.
Yeah, it comes up like twice.
I know, but it's still a really cool skill where you can effectively get like an invisible wound, if that makes sense. Because you can trigger, if you take 3 wounds, you can still trigger your no wound and cap afterwards, which I think is just a neat way of
4?
not dying. Yeah.
Or I guess it depends if you have 2 wounds to start.
It depends on how many wounds you actually take in an exchange, but you can get this like little weird get out of jail free card by having the extra level of unconscious.
Yeah, you can exist in unconscious level 2 and still be standing.
Mm-hmm. There's a
if it
weird
was in one
limbo
order.
state. Yeah, there's a weird limbo state in one order where if you somehow take 3 wounds, you can skip down one and still be standing, which is a very cool, weird niche thing. But the interaction between those 2 skills, I think, is really neat.
It's kind of like a get out of jail free card.
Mm-hmm. It only comes up every now and again when you really badly lose a fight in one exchange, but when it does come up, man, it will cause your opponents to pull their hair out. All right, last one, Owen.
I mean, I'll be honest, there's just individual skills beyond this point that I personally like. I didn't really like there wasn't one that was like, oh, this combination of skills comes together to make something better than the sum of its parts. So like I could say like 2 that are the ones. Impersonation as a skill is great.
Well, it kind of combines skills anyway, because impersonation gives you like a super infiltration on top of it. Like it's funny how impersonation is one of those few skills remaining that has a bunch of nested skills.
Right. Like that it in existing also gives you infiltration, but it's not infiltration because it's super infiltration. And then the other one was deployment parachutist. Like these are between the two of these, they are standalone abilities. They can be combined with other things.
I think if you combine combat jump with deployment parachutist, you have the best of everything because you can just choose any side plus go on the table when you want as well.
I think impersonation mind layer, while not as good as it was, is still hilarious.
Agreed.
It was, but now that you can't put a mine with someone in its trigger area down as mind layer, it is not what it used to be.
It's not a negative play experience that you loved.
I mean, it's
not an alpha strike.
It was something horrendous when you could do that. Dan, did you play when that was still a thing?
No, he only played for last year.
So the Speculo Killer had mind layer, and so you could impersonation just outside their deployment and place a mine.
So you hold back your Speculo Killer, their link team goes on a rooftop, and you just stick a mine in the middle of them. And then you could just put the mine between them, and then you do literally anything to cause them to act, and then the mine hits them all.
You've done that to me, but it's just been on the edge of my deployment. I can't imagine if it was.
You can't though. He couldn't do it.
No, you can't anymore.
You can't
anymore.
Yeah.
You cheated against me.
No,
it's a good chance.
Or what I probably did was I deployed it before you deployed, because you can still do that.
Yes, you can still stupidly deploy next to it.
I wouldn't deploy next to. Would I have deployed next to mine? I was
at that time, maybe
early days, maybe.
No, this is because I remember this is what happened because I had a motorized bounty hunter drive up alongside it and shoot it 3 times, and it made its armor save.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, that wasn't even on you. It was just like in the middle of where you wanted to go, and then his whole army tried to kill it, and like 2 people died. It was
no, I got it, but it just took like 3 orders instead of like 1.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I lost that game.
Yeah, it like those 2 skills I think are hilarious. In the same way that I think as we talked about equipment last week, the little critters in Toha, because these are the same sort of like the symbiomates. They're not inherently they are inherently very powerful abilities, and they come up so rarely that if you haven't experienced it much, or maybe you've seen like you've talked about it or someone has said that this exists, it really doesn't prepare you for what you have to do to deal with one.
The reality of it, yeah.
Like, he's just an infiltrator guy. He shows up outside my deployment, and it's like, well, kinda. There's an exclusion zone. He doesn't care about that.
Yeah. You're gonna feel a little pinch.
Oh, he could just be prone too, couldn't he? Well, I have to go over on top of that building and go try and dig him out, right? I'm going to spend 6 orders now trying to kill this guy. And the other person's like, 6 orders for 20 points? I'll do it again next year. Like, perfectly fine. My advice, ignore the impersonations. It's the only solution.
It's the only way to play.
Yeah. Just assume they'll do nothing.
Except if they're like beside your 5-man link. Then you deployed wrong.
Or just don't activate your link.
All right, Dan, it's your last one.
I know we've talked about camo a lot, but I think I was going back and forth because there's so many cool skills. Like there's a lot of cool equipment, but like skills is where you just get the character of Infinity, and it really kind of makes things a lot of fun with the combination of skills.
Right.
But as for, I can just like breathe a sigh of relief. Lieutenant camo.
Ooh, okay, good one. Yeah. Go on. Why?
Because like as someone who's played, like when I started 012, the alpha is super awesome, but he can be prone, but he's still on a 55 mil base, and so it's kind of easy to see over like little ledges if you get higher at all. It's like way harder to hide behind ledges. And he's just kind of more or less easy to kill. So having a lieutenant that could just be in a camo state and just somewhere where not only do you have to get to him, then you have to pass a discover roll, and then you got to kill him while there's a bunch of army around. Like there's no like suicide guy that just goes and does that and trades his life with a template kind of thing. Like it's just not, that's just not going to happen. And so you could just be like, okay, I can go second. I really don't have to worry about lost lieutenant. I mean, it's possible, but it's really off the table. And so it's just, you can just like, okay. And then there, you just take that out of the equation, which is really nice.
Sweet. Well, there you go. We did it. We got some additional layers to our discussion of top threes. I think this was a good one. I also really liked all of our mailbag questions this week, but I think we did it. I think we did another episode, baby. It's done. We nailed it.
Woo.
Yay. So next week we had a listener write in and give us an idea for an episode in our Discord. Also, I've updated the Discord link in the description of these podcasts. So I think it lasts 100 uses. So again, tell us in either the mailbag or in the comments on maybe the YouTube video or just through email if it goes dead again. I don't know how many people will join the Discord, but I keep updating it whenever someone tells me it's gone dead. But their idea was that we do our list of what 3 factions, and we can just talk about this in the group chat, that are oldie but goodie factions that are like OG, and there's some obvious ones kind of like that have been around for a while, but we can debate which ones we wouldn't want to do. What would be why do we think they've aged out? So like, what do we think that is keeping them from being sort of like in the same class level as sort of more modern factions or recently updated factions? And what will we do to update them? What would our wish list be to update them? That was our episode request.
I'm going to be useless. I don't know any of these things.
You're playing one. You're playing.
But I'm doing fine with them now. It's fine.
I'm doing fine with them now. I won 2 games. I won 2 games. The problem
it's totally
the problem
totally
is me. I think you
totally
can.
fine.
I think you can probably add more to this conversation than you think. Yes. So I think that's a good idea for an episode. So we'll do that one next week.
Yeah, one day I'll figure out how to make that old classic Assassin Bear Ram work.
I thought QK was first. Wasn't QK first?
Maybe.
Was it them or Assassins? I thought QK was the first one. I think that was the original. Maybe
I
it was
thought QK
Baram.
was the next one.
They
I'm
might be
pretty
the
sure Baram
second
was the
one.
first
Oh no, QK was the second one because they introduced Harris through QK. No, you're right. Assassins was first, but they just got updated. So like they got a bunch of new units.
All they got was McMurrow.
And Sonic Butts and Pandora
Whoa,
and the
don't talk
Shuja.
about that.
And so I'm just saying there's a bunch of all that you got that you liked was those things, but I think
All they got were the things that I put in my lists.
and all
I
those
put
new
everything in my
profiles
list.
and new profiles for Asawiras and Bucktars.
Nobody uses any of those things. I don't know what you're talking about.
And okay, I'm just saying. And Fiddler, and you got quite a bit. So that's gonna be it. So that's awesome. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and thanks for you guys hanging out and chatting with me. And we will be back next week with that episode. I guess we should start picking our factions too for Colder Than Carbonite, and I should probably book a ticket.
So to be honest, I said I was sticking with ISS until Colder Than Carbonite, but now that I've had some success with them, I kind of want to start dabbling in Invincible Army. But I don't know if I'll be able to get enough experience with Invincible Army to be able to choose between the two for it, or do I need to commit? It's an interesting thought.
I don't know.
I don't even know what faction I want to play.
I
think I'm not going to have enough time because I'm gone for most all of January.
Yeah.
So
I think you should just stick with the DOG. Stick with what you've.
You're not my dad.
I'm not your dad, but I'm just giving you my unbiased opinion. If I'm forced to play Assassins, then you should. You're
not forced to do anything.
I'm not, but I'm committing to the bit. This is what we have to do. I'm committing to the bit of doing this.
All right.
And I'm gonna take one list that Owen writes and one list that I write, and we'll see how I do.
And then I'll play the same assassin list.
No, you can't.
That would be amazing.
This is
Wait, who's better?
And just play the exact same assassin Rom list and be like, what?
Just troll me. We should all 3 of us should play Assassins Rom. We should all just come with Sundeck Butts.
And there's gonna be someone who fights all 3 of us and be like, I just fought this list.
Oh my god. What is wrong with you guys? Yeah, we should do the We 3 Kings.
We gotta pad out the assassin stats. They're bad on the internet.
They're slipping in the IGL.
They have like a 40% win rate. I don't know how that happened. Titans.
I'm sure Dan and I could drag that lower for you if you want.
Oh yeah,
us
There you
to.
go.
I can bring that down to a 0 or as close
Yeah.
to as possible.
Let's see how deep this hole. Let's see what's like. Yeah, dig up.
Last
Stiffens.
minute before we left, I did have a
Yeah.
real answer for a model that I had underappreciated.
Sure.
The downside is that he doesn't exist anymore. Like it's like the last one I remember, and it was the Montesa Knight. Like the old Montesa Knight.
Yeah, the original one
was like a sleeper in a group of people who were all like link teams and power and high stats. This whole guy with mech deploy, and you're like, damn, that's just infiltration on a arm 4 2-wound heavy knight.
sure was.
And
Now he doesn't need them 'cause
PS14.
He moves 10 inches in his first order. But
But he lost to BS, and he lost his grenade launcher, and he lost blah blah blah. But yeah, hit that little thing. He was one of those guys that I never brought because in picking a Montesa Knight, you couldn't pick the other knights, and so you kind of narrowed what you were able to play.
Mhm.
But if you played that, it was a very different style because you could between them, you could bring 2 or 3 of them. It's very expensive, but all of a sudden your board presence changes pretty dramatically, and they did really well, and they don't exist anymore, so we don't have to talk about it ever again.
Fair enough. But you miss him now. I understand.
Yep.
Sweet. All right.
Goodbye.
It's 11:30, so I'm going to bed. Night, everybody. Bye, everybody.